Hello everyone, welcome for another lecture video. By the way, my name is Jillian Rapanya and I am your presenter for today's lesson. And for today's topic, we'll be discussing about routing models. So for the contents, we have the routing, reservoir routing, and channel routing. So first, let us define what is routing. So in general term, routing is the process of selecting a path for traffic in a network or between or across multiple networks. But in this lesson, routing is a technique of determining the flood hydrograph at a section of a river by utilizing the data of flood flow at one or more upstream location. So there are two distinct kinds of routing. We have the reservoir routing and channel routing. So what are these? Reservoir routing, it is used to find the outflow hydrograph over the spillway from the inflow hydrograph, while the channel routing, it is used to find the outflow hydrograph from a river reach from the inflow hydrograph. So again, reservoir routing over the spillway, while the channel routing is from the river reach. So routing models, the general concept, we have the unit hydrograph method and frequency analysis. Itong ginagamit sa two kinds of routing. So for unit hydrograph method, if you have a rainfall and runoff records, you can proceed to derive unit hydrograph. If none, you will proceed to the synthetic unit hydrograph, wherein mag-assume ka ng mga data to para magkaroon ka ng collected data. Kumbaga, mga assumed lang siya. Assumed na mga equations and so after that, you may proceed to the convolution with design rainfall, and after solvings din siya, after solvings for mga sa data collected, proceed to flood hydrograph and the flow rate peak. Yan, meron ka ng flood hydrograph and the flow rate peak. Ito naman sa frequency analysis. For frequency analysis, you have the record length of subject site, which is denoted as N. Meron siyang categories ng frequencies, which are the 13 years, greater than 13 years na frequency ng flooding mo, 2 to 13 years siya nag-occur, or less than 2 years. So if nag-occur siya ng greater than 13 years, ang QMED na ginagamit mo is from AMS median. And then for 2 to 13 years na occurrence ng flood, QMED mo is from the POT data. And for the less than 2 years, QMED mo is from data transfer from the donor or analog catchment. So QMED, what is QMED? This should be discussed by the previous reporter. So again, sabihin ko nila. So QMED is the median annual maximum flood, and may unit siya na cubic meter per second. Median annual maximum flood. Si QMED. So, after mo magkaroon ng QMED, proceed ka sa target return period, which is denoted as T. So, may dalawa siyang categories, subcategories. We have the if N, record length of subject site mo, is less than 2T, ang fit siya for pooling group. Ang growth curve niya for pooling group. While if N was greater than 2T, ang growth curve mo is belong sa single group. Kunwari, ang record length of subject site mo, N is 13 years. Tapos, ang target return mo is, kunwari, 6. Ang target return period mo, 6 years. Ganon. So, N is 13. So, 2 times T, return period mo na 6. So, 12. So, 13 is greater than 2T, di ba? So, dito siya na-fit sa growth curve mo dito sa single group. So, after that, pag na-designate mo siya for pooling group ba or single group, proceed ka sa naka-obtain ka na ng growth curve mo, which is the Q is equal to XQ med. So, yung mga nakuha nila na results is, doon na, mag-compare na sila ng estimates ng flow rates nila. So, yun. So, in each case, yung kay unit hydrograph method at saka kay frequency analysis, yung peak flow mo, yun siya ang tinatawag na attenuation. While, yun namang later part or the time na kumbaga interval niya is the translation, yung tinatawag na translation. Ayan. Si attenuation is coordinated by the y-axis, and then si translation is for the x-axis. Ayan. So, to determine the outflow hydrograph from the inflow hydrograph, require siya na application of the continuity equation. Ano yung continuity equation? Ito. Ang continuity equation. So, I minus O is equal to derivative of V in terms of T, where I is the inflow rate, O is the outflow rate, and V is the volume, T is time. So, in expressing this equation into finite difference form, ito siya. Magiging ito. Finite difference equation. Ito. Where I sub t and O sub t are inflow and outflow rates at time t, and then for I sub t plus change of t and O sub t plus change of t are inflow and outflow rates at time t plus change of t. So this equation may be solved successively through for unknown inflow hydrograph if the storage volume can be related to outflow or channel properties. So what is reservoir routing? Ano nga ba ang reservoir routing? So reservoir routing. Okay. So given this figure, the outflow is governed by the height. Tinatawag din siyang stage minsan of water above the spillway level, crest level. Saan nga ba si spillway crest level? Ito. Dito. And the volume of live storage, ito, is also governed by the height ng stage. Hence, for a given reservoir, both volume and the outflow, si volume daw at saka si outflow can be expressed as functions of H. Ito si stage. So, si equation daw kanina, yung continuity equation may be solved by a number of numerical methods, including the Newton-Raphson method. I-demonstrate ko mamaya. Newton-Raphson method. Yeah. So, yan. Equation, yung kaninang equation ng finite difference, if in terms of unknown and known values, we have this. The unknown values is ito, and for the known is ito. The storage stage relationship may be expressed as V is equal to VH, where VH represents as function of stage H at time t plus change of t. The spillway outflow stage relationship may be expressed as O is equal to KH raised to N, where K and N may be assumed constant and their values depend upon the type of spillway structure. Ayan. So the spillway outflow stage relationship may be expressed, ayun, diba? So i-substitute natin si storage stage relationship and spillway outflow stage relationship. We will come up with this equation. Ayan, mag-yield tayo dito ng equation. Ito siyang equation na to is a nonlinear equation in one unknown, which is CH. So this equation can be solved using the root finding method. Root finding methods such as the Newton-Raphson method yung sinabi ko kanina, where a better estimate of the root is h sub I plus 1 and is given by ito. Ito si sub I plus 1. So h sub I plus 1 is equal to the hi minus the function of hi over the function prime of hi, where I is 0, 1, 2, and counting numbers so on. So, si hi is the previous estimate of the root or the initial. And then, si f prime h, na-derive yan siya by differentiating equation na ito. Derive siya in terms of h. So, cancel out ito since wala siyang h. So, ang maiwan is this one. Pero, naka-derivation siya, di ba? Si VH, pag i-derive mo siya, magiging si area. Si volume ito. Volume. Ito naman si area. Ayan. And derivation ito. So, next. For example, determine the outflow hydrograph resulting from the probable maximum flood or the BMF at Ardingly Reservoir from the following data. So first, we have the data. Reservoir plan area at spillway crest level is equal to 0.8 kilometers squared. Reservoir plan area 3 meters above spillway crest level, we have 1 kilometer squared. Spillway type niya is circular shaft. Discharge equation, O is equal to 64. H raised to 3 halves. Discharge preceding occurrence of BMF mo is 5 cubic meter per second. So this is the table. Given time and inflows. So solution. Solution natin, approximate equation for V and A in terms kay H derived by assumed linear equation variation. Ayan. Ito ang assumed kay A, kay area. AH guys is area of the reservoir at stage 8. And this is for the volume. Yan. Ito ang function ni volume. Pero since meron tayong value ni AH, substitute na natin ang value. Okay, naging ganito. CVH. Okay. So, the outflow is related to stage through the Weir equation na yung given ko kanina na O is equal to 64 H raised to 3 halves, choosing change of T is equal to 2H. Like for example, 7,200 seconds to correspond with the inflow data. Okay. Yan. Kunwari, 7,200. Yan. Change of time niya. Yan. So, mag-come up tayo ng ganito na equation. Ano yung dito sa taas kanina? Ano yan? Ayan. Ito. Ito siya. Yan siya ang palit niya. 64 is the K. Constant niya. So, ayan. So, the solution may now proceed by using the tabular method. Ayan. Table 10.5. Solution for reservoir routing, Newton-Raphson method calculations have been carried out using a spreadsheet in Engr. Ayan, spreadsheet. Ito, nakatabular na. So, once the initial conditions have been specified, at time 0, the outflow daw is 5 cubic meter per second. So the corresponding stage is 0.183. Ito lang yan. I-substitute mo lang ang given data. And then come up ka ng ganito. For H is this one. For volume, ito. And then area is ito. And then yung given kanina na outflow na equation. Ayan. And then we have the naka-flow chart na dito. Ayan. So, inflow and outflow. Actually, inflow and outflow is kailangan medyo slight lang ang difference nila. Since, kunwari, inflow mo is ang velocity ng inflow mo is mabilis, and then ang outflow mo naman is mahina. So magba-backflow siya, di ba? So dapat meron lang talagang allowances ang each para si inflow mo minsan kasi pag si inflow is malakas ang kanyang velocity is ginagamitan na lang ng mga routing methods na kunwari mag-meander na lang sila para ma-less ang velocity niya at magkaroon ng medyo tawag nito basta ma-less ang kanyang velocity at hindi siya mag-backflow. Ito na ang so kanina itong peak from this yun siya ang tinatawag na attenuation, and ito naman to this is the translation. So next is channel routing. So, in channel routing, we have this figure, means that the storage volume is not simple function of stage anymore. Yung kanina is all about stage, which is the H. Sa reservoir, dito naman wala na siya. So, therefore, ang solution nito is very complex. And sa sobrang complex niya, ginagamitan na siya ng softwares. Like for example, Mic 11, Headclass, and so on. Marami pa. Nagamitan na siya ng software sa sobrang complex niya. Pero, yung wala pang softwares, meron tinatawag na masking gum na method. And yun siya ang ginagamit dati. Pero, it's more on approximations, but it is widely used talaga. So there are a number of hydrological routing methods, including the simplified versions of the unsteady gradually varied flow equations and routing through a series of simple reservoirs by means of, example, the channel routing technique based on the so-called Muskingum method, yung sabi ko kanina. And the channel storage may be considered to consist of two parts. Ayun, two parts, which are the wedge storage and the prism storage. The prism storage is at the bottom, and then the wedge storage naman is at the upper part, yung may slant na part. Yan. So for inflow, may height siya na denoted as y sub I, and for outflow, may height naman siyang y sub O. So assuming no sudden change of cross-section within the ridge, then approximate expressions for inflow, outflow, and storage are, ayan. For inflow, I is equal to A sub I raised to N, and for outflow is O is equal to A sub 0 raised to N. Prism storage, meron siyang formula na by sub 0 raised to M, and for wedge storage is C multiplied to the quantity of y sub I raised to M minus y sub O raised to M. Ayan. So by substituting the y sub I and y sub O and assuming that M is equal to N, we come up with this formula. Now V is equal to B over A sub times O minus C over A times O plus C over A times I. And then for simpler na equation ito, V is equal to B over A multiplied with the quantity of C over B times I plus O minus C over B times O. So let's taking K as B over A and then X as C over B, ganito. Magiging ganito ang equation. V is equal to K multiplied to the quantity of Xi plus O minus XO. Ayan. Where K is called the storage constant and has dimensions of time. And for X is a dimensionless weighing factor between 0 and 0.5, but normally between 0.2 and 0.4. Ayan. So, from the equation kanina, ito na equation na ito, it is what you call the Muskingum equation. So, Muskingum equation. Muskingum equation. So next. Yan. Okay. So obviously only approximation lang sabi ko kanina, si Muskingum equation, it is widely used then for its reasonable results. So ayan. So for the substitution of this equation into the continuity equation, mag-yield tayo ng ito na equation. Ayan. Si Muskingum equation daw, i-substitute natin siya sa continuity equation, mag-yield siya nito. And then for C sub 0, ito ang formula niya. And for C sub 1 is ito, and C sub 2 is ito. And to check if tama ang results, we have this equation. C sub 0 plus C sub 1 plus C sub 2 should equate to 1. Ayan. So, hence, the outflow may be determined through time from the inflow hydrograph, the unknown values of K and X, and a starting value for the outflow. In the Muskingum method, both K and X may be determined by a numerical optimization technique from a previously recorded event. For an assumed value of for x, k is found by at least squares linear regression of v against yung kaninang masking-gum na equation. And then a numerical optimization can be readily performed using a spreadsheet. Yun, para mas madali, spreadsheet. Tabular na lang siya. And then produces the best straight line fit with gradient k to the recorded data. Okay, para mas maintindihan. Let's have an example. Yan. Given the inflow and outflow hydrograph for a river reach in table 10.6, assuming that the storage V can be written as P is equal to K, yung kanina na maskinggam equation, find K and X for the flood, and B, taking the outflow hydrograph from A as inflow to the next river H with K is equal to 27 and X is equal to 0.2, and then find the peak outflow. Ayan. Ito ang data table. Table 10.6. So, ayan, may table tayo for inflows and for outflows. So, solution for letter A, the first stage of the solution is to find the change in reach storage, so change of V as function of time. This may be found from the finite difference form of the continuity equation. Yung kanina diniscuss ko sa reservoir routing, ito na equation. Finite difference. Second, the cumulative volume of reach storage may be found by summing the change of these. Third, a value of X is chosen and V plotted against this masking-gum na equation. And then a linear regression analysis is performed using a spreadsheet to obtain the gradient K. A spreadsheet optimization is used to determine the value of X that produces the closest fitted line to the plotted data. The best result from the spreadsheet is found to be X is equal to 0.272, for which K is equal to 18.324H. And then the results are tabulated in table 10.7 and plotted in the figure. So ito pakita ko. Ayan. So ayun lang. Direct substitution na actually siya doon sa mga equations given. Yung data given, i-substitute lang siya directly sa equations given kanina. And then, ayan, magiging ganito ang palang table for inflow, outflow, storage, ayun, change of volume, and then the volume, and then the masking-gum, and then estimated volume na. So since ang goal dito is the linear talaga, so straight line na results. Ayan. Ayan lang. Gamit ka lang ng spreadsheets para mas madali, and then para makita din ang flowchart mo. Para ma-determine agad kung saan si X at si K. Mas malapit na answer for X and K. Yan. For letter B naman, ito ang solution. Ito kanina yung given na si masking-gum. Masking-gum is sinubstitute kay inflow kay continuity equation. Yan, is applied after solution of the equations. Equations na ito. ito siya na equation is for C sub 0. And then C sub 1 and C sub 2 given by ito. Ito na magiging answer. Actually, direct substitution lang talaga siya. And then note that change of T is equal to 12H for the inflow hydrograph, and thus K must have the same units. Same units dapat. Ayan. Ayan, direct substitution ulit. And so on. Direct substitution. And then for checking, just add these three. C sub 0, C sub 1, and C sub 2. And then if nag-equate kay 1, and then that is correct. So, this graphical techniques is time-consuming. So, mayroong alternative to this approach known as the constant parameter. Masking gum conj method. Masking gum. Nag-collab sila. Masking gum conj method. Nag-collab sila kasi sabi ni Conj medyo complicated talaga, and for simpler solution nag-come up siya nitong equation na to. Yan, K is approximately or equal or approximately to change of L all over C, where change of L is the length of the river reach. L is the length of river reach. Yeah. K is approximately equal to the time travel of the flood wave. Ayan. Time. Again, si K is based siya sa time. And then this equation, ito si C naman, si C naman is the flood wave clarity, which is equal to square root of gravity and its y. Ang kanyang line ay depth or ano ba. Yan. And then ito, x is approximately or equal to 0.5 minus the QP all over 2 S sub 0 barred QP pala, and then over 2 S sub 0 barred B C change of L, where barred B is the mean flood peak and then barred B is the mean surface width of the channel. Ayan na siya. So using these equations allows rapid calculation for K and X for each reach, and the constant parameter Muskingum-Conj method may also be applied to rivers without recorded outflow hydrograph. And recalculating the parameters at each time step for each reach. The variable parameter Muskingum-Conj method provides an improved simulation of the routed hydrograph shape. However, the VPMC or the variable parameter Muskingum-Conj method is nonlinear and requires a numerical solution using a computational model. Furthermore, the VPMC method results in a small loss of volume. So, ibig sabihin, since approximation lang nga siya, mostly loss of volume talaga ang results niya. Dun sa graph. And as for the graph, the calculation of the new outflow, ito, hydrograph is shown in tabular form in table 10.8. Ito na siya pala ang new. Ito na ang new tabulation. Ayan, the peak outflow is seen to be 16.48. Ayan, peak niya. 16.48. And then, at time, 96. 96H. As with the example for the reservoir flouting routing kanina, an initial value for the outflow is required and the tabular solution is easier to follow if the relevant equation is written. So I guess that's all. Thank you for listening and